Dear friends, a warm welcome to begin the Lenten journey with St. Ignatius of Loyola. I am Father Rolphy Pinto here at the Greg. The season of Lent begins on Ash Wednesday with the imposition of ashes on our foreheads. The season ends with the Easter Vigil with the lighting of the new fire and blessing it. Notice that we begin with ashes and end with fire. This is contrary to the natural order, where fire comes before the ashes. In the divine order, the things are reversed. We can produce ashes from fire, but only God can produce fire from the ashes. Ignatius describes spiritual exercises as every way of preparing and making ourselves ready to get rid of all disordered affections, so that once rid of them, one might seek and find the divine will in regard to the disposition of one's life for the salvation of the soul. Our disordered affections are our ashes. The season of Lent is a faith journey in the spiritual desert, where we let God free us of our disordered affections so that we become free to love and serve God and our neighbor. We let God transform our ashes into fire, the fire of His love. What are disordered affections, or as I like to call them, disordered relationships? Any relationship with myself, with others, or the things of this world that does not take me closer to God is a disordered relationship. Lent is an opportune time to put order into our relationships, so that our relationship with God takes priority over all other relationships. We might have neglected our relationship with God in the midst of many occupations, some of which might have been disordered. I grew up in India. We used firewood for cooking at home. It was the task of the women in the family to light up the fire in the morning. One of them got up early before the rest. On the surface, the hearth looked dead. Only white and gray ashes would be seen. But the women knew that there was life beneath the ashes. They would blow the ashes away. The smoke produced would bring tears into their eyes would get red, but they would continue to blow off the ashes, and then you would see something shining. First shades of red and yellow, and finally a gentle flame. Beneath our limitless desires hides the most fundamental desires of all, the desire for God. The desire is innate, that is, God created us with a desire. And so Augustine says, "Our hearts are made for you, O Lord, and they are restless until they find their rest in you." Our secondary desires often overshadow our primary desire. The secondary desires sometimes take the form of inordinate affections or relationships. The season of Lent invites us to return to our first love. In order to do that, we need to traverse the spiritual desert by blowing away the ashes of inordinate affections. That task is not easy. We might need to blow hard. It might hurt our eyes. But the ascetic practices of Lent have one purpose: to flame the fire of our fundamental relationship with God. With what attitude should we enter the Lenten retreat? Annotation number 5 of the exercises was the very first annotation written by Ignatius. He says, "It is highly profitable for the exercitant to begin the exercises in a magnanimous spirit and with great liberality toward their Creator and Lord, and to offer Him all their powers of desire and all their liberty." Magnanimous spirit, powers of desire, or liberty. All these are very important. However, today I want to draw your attention to great liberality, or liberalidad in Spanish original. I want to illustrate what it means through a story. In ancient India, the schooling of a privileged class of boys was done in the gurukuls, a sort of seminaries in the remote forests under the tutelage of a guru. It was the last day of their schooling, and the boys were excited that they were returning home after many years. Their guru had one final task for them. Being the last day, they were ready for anything. The task consisted in trekking a designated route with hurdles, a sort of cross country. It consisted of running, swimming across a river, climbing and passing through a cave-like dark and long tunnel. They took up the trek together enthusiastically. By evening, they returned from the trek exhausted, but not together. When all had arrived, the guru asked them how the trek was and why they did not return together. One of the boys spoke up. He said, "Guruji, everything went well until we reached the cave. We all reached there together, but the cave was tough and dark. We could not see anything. Some found the way but did not reveal it to others. Some misled others and even blocked their way. Some, however, helped others find the way. There were sharp stones or pebbles on the ground that were hurting our bare feet. Some of us picked up those stones and put them in our pockets so that others following may not get hurt." The guru asked the boys who had gathered the stones to come up, and he asked them to remove those stones from their pockets. But there were no stones. There were pearls and diamonds. They were spread there on purpose by the guru himself. The guru had taught the last of his lessons. Those who thought of others were rewarded, but that is not the point I am trying to make here. The boys who picked up the stones out of concern for others did so freely, without expecting a reward. And they did so not when going was easy, but when the going got tough. Doing something freely without expecting a reward, especially when going gets tough, is liberality. We are used to expecting a reward or results in all that we do. While making a retreat, all the exercises we do not bring us spiritual consolation. At times, going gets dark and tough. Am I willing to be magnanimous and offer all to the Lord, my powers of desire, in liberality? The grace to seek in prayer. I ask the Lord to reveal to me my inordinate affections and rekindle in me the fire of love for Him. The scriptural text I propose may sound a bit awkward at the beginning of a retreat, but try it out. It is the episode of the beheading of John the Baptist found in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 6, 14 to 29. Mark, chapter 6, 14 to 29, and its parallels. The episode runs like a soap opera, except that it is not a fiction. It is a story of strong emotions, desires, hatred, lust, manipulation, revenge, and crime. The character of Herod is full of contradictions, and his inordinate affections clearly stand out. He admires John the Baptist, he likes to listen to him, but he consents to his beheading. He is conscious of the truth in the criticism of John the Baptist, but he is not willing to take heed and change. He knows that what Herodias is asking is excessive, but does not want to break the promise he made in a moment of euphoria. By not turning down the promise he made, he prefers to make a bold impression of himself in front of his distinguished guests than to stand for justice. Does the contemplation of Herod reveal to me my inordinate affections? John and Jesus are silent or the hidden characters in the whole episode. Can I blow away the ashes of my own inordinate affections to discover the hidden spark of my desire for Jesus? A couple of more passages, optional. From the book of Revelation, chapter 3, it says, "Listen, I am standing at the door, knocking. If you hear my voice and open the door, I will come into you and eat with you, and you with me." A second passage is from 1 Kings, chapter 19, where it says, "After the earthquake, a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire, a sound of sheer silence. When Elijah heard it, he wrapped his face in his mantle and went out and stood at the entrance of the cave." Wish you all a blessed journey of Lent with Ignatius. Thank you for listening.